Do you want to know more about model railroad scenery? Why don't you stick around and watch this video and see how I did the scenery on my in-scale layout. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and in-scale, and welcome back. This is episode 2 on our scenery playlist. You know, before the summer started back in June, I put out episode 1 and starting the scenery process down in Sayreville on the Sayreville Running Track on my layout. You know, I took a couple months, number 1, to really focus on the scenery, and number 2, just to take a little break with the videos. I took a little pause with YouTube model builders over the summer, and I'm going to do this. I did the same here on our channel. And just let it, it was refreshing, just down here working on the layout. But I did a lot of video. So now we're going to get caught up with putting these videos together. So today, this episode, we're going to be concentrating on ground foam, putting our structures in, and also doing a couple roads. So why don't you sit back and watch this video and see how we did it. Okay, so here we are getting started. So the first step in this process, what I do is I choose the locations of where I want the structures, and then I'm going to build bases. Some of the buildings I chose to use just styrene plastic, and the other I chose to use foam core, just depended on the way that the ground contours were going to be and the size of the structures. So once I've made that decision, first thing what I do is I mix up a batch of Sculptamold, and I'm going to use the Sculptamold kind of as a glue because number one, you can adhere the base to the plastic gauze, and also it kind of fills in the spaces, and then you can kind of contour it out. So it kind of looks like the base is part of the scenery and not just a piece of plastic sitting on top of the gauze. So here we are working in National Lead facility. So the kits that I used to put this area together was a Rick's metal building, Walther's water tower, the Walther's North Island refinery kit. That piece there that I'm handling, that is a 3D printed model from shapeways.com, and then I used a Tomy Tech cooling tower. Now, when I was putting together the North Island refinery kit, I was thinking about not using that plastic base that comes with it and just putting each individual assembly into the Sculptamold. But the problem was that you couldn't assemble that kit and have it put together properly without that base. So that's why I just went ahead with the base, and then I painted it a concrete color to make it look like it was a poured concrete base. And then we'll bring our ground cover up to the edge of the concrete. So, I heard a lot of people complaining about this kit, and it's all true. That kit is just very little instructions, lots of intricate details. It took a long time to put together. So, it came out really good. I was happy with the overall outcome, but it took a long time. So here I am getting started on the Middlesex MUA facility. We're going to use foam core board for our base here. The structures that I used for this was another Rick's metal building, another Tomy Tech cooling tower, and then all the other components were printed off of shapeways.com. And so this is how it looks. So Ed Kapuzinski, he cautioned me against using this plastic gauze because you have a tendency to make unnatural landforms. However, going over it with the Sculptamold, you're able to smooth it out and make it look more natural to the area that you're modeling. Okay, so here we are getting started on Bordentown Ave and Journey Mill Road. My roads are very simple. I use a foam core board, and then I attach it to the scenery with Sculptamold, and then I bring the shoulders of the roads up with Sculptamold so it looks like it's part of the scenery and not just laying on top. Then once the Sculptamold is dry, about a day, I come back with green lid joint compound and any kind of seams where pieces are put together. I fill those. Now you do have to do multiple applications because there's a tendency to crack, so don't be afraid to do multiple layers of joint compound on your seams. Here I just had some extra Sculptamold in the bucket and I wanted to use it up instead of wasting it. So this area to the right of Bordentown Avenue, that's going to be in our next section when we do Brown's Yard, because right there off camera on the right is the Amboy engine facility. So once I finish up with the Sculptamold or plaster work, I come right in with a bucket of clean water and a sponge and get it all off of the fascia, because it's easier when it's kind of wet to clean up. Once it dries, it becomes harder and you may damage the paint and you may have to repaint. So that's what I'm doing here. So this shot here, this is just an overview just to show you how it's progressing and how it looks so far. Okay, so the next step in doing these roads is I need to do this crossing. You know, I wanted to do a crossing that was just joint compound, so it had that paved look. There's a lot of different ways to do crossings. You can use commercially available parts. You can do plastic. You can do wood. I just wanted to try the joint compound. I've never done it before. So you just watch these series of shots, and you'll see all I'm doing is just working with joint compound and then getting it down in between the rails and up to the rails, and then I come back with an NMRA gauge and check my flangeways, build my flangeways for the rails so that the wheels go through smoothly, and then I test it at the end. So again, I'm using green lid joint compound. You know, there is a tendency to crack over while it's drying, so there was multiple applications made during this process. So you know, it just took a couple days to get done, but you know, overall, once it was done, I was pretty happy with the outcome. I know right there where the putty knife is, it kind of had an unnatural slope. I don't think it's very prototypical, but it's not too bad. So I just kind of went with it because I didn't want to have to risk ripping up all that roadway to regrade it out. So you'll see at the end, it comes out really good. So the key to doing a crossing like this is you got to make sure those flangeways are open. I would even make them a little wider than you think, just so that it moves smoothly, so you don't risk ruining the operations of your trains over this crossing. You know, so you got to balance that, what looks good and what operates. Okay, so here I picked up this product by watching Mike Pfeiffer's videos. This is called Gipsa Light. So I was looking for a material that would fill in those spaces in the plastic gauze. You know, it has those holes in it. He was using this on his ACTR, and I kind of wanted to give it a shot. Initially, when I did all this work, I really wasn't happy with it because it comes out real pebbly. It's got this like bumpy texture with these pebbles that sit on top, and it looks really good if you're doing a desert scene or a mountain scene. But you know, here doing the you know, a lot of foliage, flat you know, areas in New Jersey, I was like, I don't know how that's going to look. But in the end, I will say, I'm going to have to go back on what I've said on Facebook, is in the end, it came out really good because the ground cover hid all that pebbly texture. So, you know, I think I will continue to use it in the future on certain areas. So I kind of, like I'm saying, I'm going to go back and recant what I was saying on Facebook. And overall, Gipsa Light looks like it's a pretty good product. You know, think about it. It comes in a container from Scenic Express. You mix it and then you apply it with a paintbrush. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm marking the boundaries of my roadway surface, you know, just so I have a visual representation. So what I did was I picked up this technique. There was a video that was floating around Facebook of this guy in Australia doing this phenomenal diorama. And what he did is he took 2 pencils and stuck them through a piece of foam, and I just measured it out a scale 30 feet, so I have my dimensions of my roadway. And then what I come in with apple barrel asphalt. And you can see I'm just having fun just dumping it on there and just spreading it around. And it's a good color. It represents fresh pavement really well. So what I decided to do is I kind of made that Bordentown Ave, which is that straight road in front of you, that it's a freshly paved road. And then Journey Mill Avenue is going to be more weathered asphalt. Okay, so you can see that sunshine's starting to take shape, the building's coming together. The reason why this video took so long is because of that building. It took a little longer than I expected. It was a little more extensive. Okay, so here we go getting started ballasting. So I like to do my ballasting before I do my ground cover because it drives me bananas when I'm doing ballast and, you know, the ballast just ends up all over the ground foam and you can't get it up. So I found it's just easier to do the ballasting first and use matte medium and then do your ground cover. So ballasting, I'm using the LMA ballast spreader. You can get that through Micromart. I got it, it was given to me by somebody. Then I'm using a spoon and 2 nice soft fan brushes to move my ballast around. So a lot of people dread ballasting. You know, I found that if you break it down into small sections and do one section a week or something like that, it turns out where it's a little more enjoyable instead of having hundreds of feet of track to ballast. So I just take my time and work through it. Once I get the ballast in position, I'm going to wet it down with 70% isopropyl alcohol, and then I'm using Scenic Express, their ballast cement that's diluted. I think 4 drops of the adhesive to about 5 drops of water. The biggest tip I can give you with ballasting is whatever amount of ballast you think you need in a certain section of track, cut it in half. Because your tendency is to overdo the ballast and you make the ends too high, you make it too much in the middle, and then you end up getting ballast all over the web of the rail and it affects your running. So I found that if I just use about half as much as ballast as I think in a certain section, that it turns out where it looks really good and it runs good too. Alright, so here we are getting started with ground cover. We're going to start down here in National Lead. So I looked at all my prototype research photos, and that facility was very sandy. There didn't look to be much ground cover. It is on the banks of the Raritan River, so it was kind of like a floodplain, I assume, at one point. So what I've done is I've gone to my supplies here and I got the sand from Glidden that we use for our sand hoppers, and I'm just going to use that for my ground cover. So what I do is I just put a layer of white glue down, spread it around evenly with a brush, and I sprinkle it in with a spoon. Then I come in with my fan brushes just to kind of like groom it and get it into little nooks and crannies. Then I'll wet it down with 70% isopropyl alcohol, and I'll come in with the same mixture that I use for the ballast and just wick it on there and let it dry. So I will say that I was a little worried of the outcome. I didn't want it to look, I wanted it to look like fluffy sand. I didn't want to look like it was all glued down, and I was very happy with the outcome. I think the key in this process is just not to overdo the adhesive so that you have some dry looking product on top. You can see here that I overdid it, so I come in with a spoon with some more sand and sprinkle on top just so it soaks it up. And the outcome was very, very good. I was very happy with it. So what I will tell you is at this point in this process, the buildings have all been glued down, the lights are installed, the street lights are installed. I wanted to have my buildings glued down because I didn't want them to get knocked over during operating sessions. So I just used white glue to glue them to the bases that I'd put in the scenery. And so you can see here the sand, it's a really good effect. It looks really good. I was happy with it. Okay, so here we are getting started with ground foam. So all my ground foam products that I'm using are from Scenic Express. The first step is you want to paint your base. Here where the Gipsa Light was, I tinted it with acrylic paint so that I kind of eliminated that step. Once the paint's dry, I come in with Elmer's glue, straight Elmer's glue, spread it around evenly, and then I had put down the ground foam. This ground foam here, I really like this. This is one of their mixtures. It is an unkept meadow. It's got 3 different colors and 2 different textures. So it looks like that wild flatland ground that has never been mowed down. So I really like this. It comes out really good. So once I get the ground foam to the way I like it, I come in with some 70% isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle, spray it down just to break the surface tension, and then I hit it with a mixture of 50% diluted white glue in a spray bottle. And that kind of makes it all stick down, and so this way you don't have to worry about dislodging your ground foam or accidentally vacuuming it when you're trying to clean up anything. So in diving, we say plan your dive and dive your plan. Well, that applies here in model running too. Have a plan how to do your ground foam and stick to it. I got ahead of myself here and I forgot to paint the scenery. I was in a rush, not thinking. So what I do is to fix the situation, I come back with my paint and I mix it in with the glue so that the ground cover has a color underneath it. So that's why that little step there was out of sequence. So when I'm doing my ground cover, I like a lot of textures and lots of different colors. Now, as you see here, I'm sticking with the greens because we're doing summer. You know, so you're not going to see any oranges or reds. So when you're mixing your colors, stick with your seasons. I like different textures, so I use a fine ground cover and I use a coarse ground cover. So I have 3 different colors and 2 different textures. That gives me 6 different ground foams to use, and I'm just bouncing back and forth and getting it the way that I want it. The other thing is I wanted to caution is try with those blends. I don't want to use too much of those blends, so I'm bouncing back and forth in each little section. I'll use a blend in one area and then I'll make my own blend with my ground foam colors and textures, and then I have another blend for the forest, and then I'll bounce back. So this way there's no uniformity in nature. That's what you need to realize. It's all very random to make it look realistic, so keep that in mind when you're planning your ground foam. At this point in the process, I've decided that I really like the Scenic Express ground foams. A lot of good colors, a lot of nice textures. Even in scale, the textures aren't overwhelming. So I think from here on out, with ground foam wise, I think we're going to be using a lot of Scenic Express products. So ever so often you'll notice I come in with my fan brush and sweep off the roads. I think that's another big thing, is make sure you're keeping those surfaces that you don't want the ground foam on. Keep those very clean, because once you spray that with the adhesive, it's going to be stuck there, and it's going to ruin the texture of either the roadway or the concrete. So in this scene you can see that sunshine is complete. All the details are added. The only thing left is the weather. I did put the brick mortar in, so very happy with the way it came out. You know, I never scratch built anything this large before, and so happy with the outcome, because if you've seen the previous videos, you know that this facility is very important to me, because my grandfather did work there, so I really wanted it to come out good. The representation, even though it's scaled back, I think it really portrays the facility itself. So overall, the outcome, very happy with the building. So as we're wrapping up this little section here, you know, the one thing I'm not doing right now is any kind of foliage, no trees or any shrubbery like that right now. What we will do is we will come back and put in all that. However, what I'm going to do for the next video is we're going to skip ahead to Brown's Yard and do all that, and then I'm going to do the foliage in all one shot from Sayreville all the way down through Brown's Yard. So when I was working down in National Lead, I noticed that when I was spraying everything with alcohol, it kind of left little droplet stains on the paint. So what I ended up doing was using that piece of foam core board as kind of a little masking, so that I don't get the alcohol on the surfaces that I don't want the alcohol. Once I soak the ground foam, you can see I'm coming in here with my 50% diluted white glue in a spray bottle and just saturating the ground cover so that it all kind of sticks together. Overall, it works really well. The ground foam stays in place. You can see there's a couple pieces got out of place, and make sure I get that off before I get it glued down. So I picked this little technique up from Rob Bennett's channel. These Silflor buffalo tufts I picked them up at Scenic Express. Really nice. They help hide those little edges, any little bare spots that you don't like the way they come out with. It's a little tedious. You have to put the white glue in and pick one piece off at a time and just work. But the overall effect is very dramatic, and it really brings everything together. So very happy with that product. Think about it. Like I said, a little tedious, but well worth it. So I just want to take the time to recognize a couple individuals that really inspired me to do the scenery the way I did it. First off, Tony Bone. I love his scenery work. I loved his use of all the different textures, and it looks so good. Ed Kapuzinski, his model railroad and his winter scenery, it's phenomenally done. And the other one is Matt Jones. Love Matt's scenery and his layout, and that video that he just made on how to do ground cover. I've used that to refresh my memory. And lastly, Colin Sullivan. his scratch building, just the way he does his scratch building, I picked up so much from him watching him do that Minneapolis station, and so I use a lot of his techniques at Sunshine. So thank you to all those gentlemen. All right, so we weathered the buildings up with some weathering powders. Everything's pretty much down. No details yet, no foliage, but you could see this overall outcome. It came out really good. I weathered the Journey Mill Avenue with a sponge and some light gray paint. So we'll do that at a future episode, and I'll show you how I did that. Okay, so there you have it. That's how we did it. That's how we put Sayreville together. You know, everything is all set now. That all we need to do is come in and do a little bit of detail work, some final weathering on the one road Bordentown Ave, and then put the striping in. Maybe put in some utility poles and other little details around, and then foliage. That's the big thing, the trees and the shrubs. Now, you know, I kind of made that conscious decision that, you know, we're going to do this, and we're going to jump ahead to do the ground, all the way up to the ground cover in Brown's yard, and then come back, and I want to do the trees and shrubs all in one shot. This way I can make a whole big bunch of super trees and just go through and get it all done instead of piecemealing it all together. So that's what you can expect next episode, episode 3. That should be coming out probably in October timeframe. And, you know, so, you know, one thing I wanted to talk about, I talked about a little bit in the video, I just want to expand upon it, was, you know, doing summer down here, and, you know, the best research you can do is just go out and walk around. Go take a walk around, do some rail fanning in the area that you're modeling, go walk around in there, and look at the colors and the textures that you get. And, you know, be mindful that, you know, colors and textures in the spring are going to be different than in the summer. And more so in the fall, and obviously in winter there's the absence of all the colors. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're planning your scenery, and that's what I did here. You know, I really like the end of summer. You know, everything's all lush and green and really overgrown, especially here in Jersey. You know, it gets very thick and dense. So that's what I'm trying to emulate here. And, you know, so when I'm doing the ground cover, definitely using lots of greens and different shades, and some browns in there too. A little bit of yellows I use for just little highlights, but I want to kind of stay away from the oranges and the reds and all that stuff. I mean, some people will debate me on this. You know, if you are doing summer, you can put some color out there, you know, for flowers and all that stuff. But I kind of wanted to shy away from that. You know, so just pick the colors that you find appropriate for the season that you're modeling. Also, upon that, you know, textures. When doing ground foam, I think to pull it off and make it look really good, you got to use lots of different textures. You know, I'm using the Scenic Express stuff is just phenomenal. It's really good. It's light years ahead of what I was using back in the 90s. You know, lots of the foam is really good. They got lots of different grades. You know, you got the fine and the medium and the coarse. So I kind of stuck with the medium and the fine. And I used a bunch of their blends. Really like their blends. They got the deadfall blend for, you know, putting underneath the trees with a lot of sticks and chips and stuff like that. And then that unkept meadow blend that Scenic Express does is, oh, I fell in love with that. That just looks so good. You know, get that overgrown field look, you know, that, you know, hasn't been ever mowed down or anything like that. Really natural and good stuff. Take a look at it. There's other manufacturers out there. I'm not promoting one over the other. It's just that you find the manufacturer that you like and stick with it. And I think I found one in Scenic Express. So that's probably what I'm going to be using for ground foam. We'll see when we get the foliage. You know, keep my options open. Also, those buffalo tufts or prairie tufts from Silflor. I mean, that's really accents the areas and hides all those like edges and corners and stuff. And like I said, very tedious, you know, pulling them off that mat and putting them in there. It's tedious, but it's fun. especially when it comes out the way you're expecting it to, and it really adds a lot of interest to the ground cover. So think about those too. Look at the sill floor. I use the 2mm, and they're perfect for in scale. They offer 2, 4, 6. I think I even may have seen some 8 on the Scenic Express website, but I can't be certain. But the 2mm is perfect for in scale, and as you see it in the video, it looks really good. Yeah, with the roads, I kind of skipped over it, and I think I'll definitely expand upon it on a later video. When I did Journey Mill Ave, that video I found on Facebook, I wish I could remember what it was. It was one of those ones that was popping up on the feed, and it was this gentleman from Australia who did this diorama like this big. You maybe have seen it, and he took you step by step to making this ridiculous scene, and it was so detailed, and the scenery was beautiful. And one of the things he was doing was he was painting his roads with acrylic paints and a sponge. And he started with the dark color, and then he went to the light color to kind of weather it. I tried to emulate it here on Journey Mill Ave. It didn't come out as I thought it was going to. Maybe I used the wrong style sponge, but still it achieved the effect of, you know, dulling down. Because think about asphalt. When it's first laid, it's real dark and black, and over time the sun bleaches it out, and with the wear, you know, it gets more of a grayish tone. So that's what I was trying to do with Journey Mill Ave. It was kind of more of an experimental, so I kind of didn't film it. It was kind of like, hey, let's try this, and we did it real quick. So I'll address that when we get to another series where I'm doing more roads. Also, I went back with permanent marker to put in some asphalt lines, like the crews are out patching cracks. There was a couple spots where I messed up the paint because of all the alcohol, so I used the opportunity to put in some patches with some fresh asphalt paint, so just to add a little variation to the road. The weathering, you look at the video, I'm not too pleased with the weathering. It wasn't perfect, but it will suffice for now. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with the Tony Custer's approach of it's good enough. So we'll move on. We can always come back and revisit it at a later time. So overall, the scene really is coming together. I'm standing back, and you know, I'm even looking through a viewfinder on my camera, and it looks great. Very, very happy, and a lot more to come like this. You like this? Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow along, because this is the quality of work we're going to be doing all throughout this layout. I'm not joking around here. So very happy and ready to move forward to our next area. All right, so now that I'm back in the room making more videos, we're going to be coming out with episode 3 coming up soon. I got a locomotive shop video already done. That'll be coming out here in the coming weeks. I can sit back down at the bench. I got a bunch of car projects to do. I need to get going and make some quick car shop videos for everyone. Big thing for me right now is today is Thursday. On Saturday, I got my op session here for September, so we're going to have about 6 operators down here. We're going to run another session. As I did in the update a few months ago, the op session video just kind of disappeared, lost the footage, didn't get much footage. So going to try and sit down and figure something out here during the session, how I can get some more video so I can put a video together, everybody, and tell everyone what's going on, because you know there is a lot going on in our sessions. I'm learning a lot. Right now I'm investigating the idea of time. We're not having enough time to get our work done, and the schedule that I've laid out is just, I thought on paper it looks like it's not much, but in real time we're not getting it done the way I expected. So we're going to do it. We'll give it one more college try, and we're going to really give it the gusto this Saturday and see if we can get this schedule to work. And if not, I'm going to go back to the drawing board, throw it away, and start all over. And I have some ideas in my head of how I'm going to do it. I'm going to run it through by my operators first. And so, depending on the outcome of Saturday, I'm definitely going to have to do an update video on the op session so you guys can follow along, so you can get ideas for your operating sessions. So that's really all I got for you. On the social media aspect, a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so thanks for joining us. Hope you guys are liking the videos. Hope you like the channel. You know, so hit the like button if you like this video. If you didn't like the video, tell me why. Maybe I can change something. Maybe you'll make it a little better. Also, check us out on Facebook. The Facebook page doing the updates, and I got all the albums of all the work and how it progresses, so you can sit down and see it step by step. and then our Instagram page. The Instagram page is actually getting very popular. I think, you know, just I'm not really doing anything with it. It's kind of organically growing, and we're up to about 150 followers on Instagram, and a very active group that's following us on Instagram. So I thank you if you're following along. Everybody's very active on that page. You know, so if you got an Instagram account, come over and check us out. I do a lot of like daily stuff. You know, like, hey, I'm down here doing this today, or you know, a lot of like single shots, and it's really a neat, different flavor. And then it translates over to the Facebook page, so it's working out really good. So go check it out. Otherwise, that's all I have for you this time on Central Jersey Conrail and Inscale. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe to our channel if you've seen this for the first time, and I will see you next time.